Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode of The Dialogue. Really excited this morning. I was actually just sitting here. I just got up a couple moments ago and I was just sitting here meditating about to do my Bible study, devotion, and journal a little bit. And the words that I'm about to speak about actually came into my spirit. I almost actually said the title of today's episode, but let me get straight into it. So as you know, on this show, our mantra is that we're healing souls one conversation at a time. And so I think that it is very important when talking about specific content to have a level of vulnerability. So I'm the type of person, I've been through many trials and tribulations, attacks, betrayals, setbacks, promotions, so many things with God. And this is one that is really close to my heart because I feel like a lot of people experience this and go through this type of tragedy or trauma. And then from it flows the issues of life. And that's actually a scripture. It says, guard your heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. And so I'm going to detail how issues, problems, circumstances, dilemma, dysfunctional relationships, toxic friendships, and so many things come from this point of reference. So today I want to talk about broken souls. I want to talk about broken souls this morning and today. So I have more or less been posting a little bit of content about things in regards to betrayal and when you go through diverse situations and afflictions, traumas, tragedies, circumstances, situations, setbacks, whatever you may call it. So as we look out into the world today, we see that there are so many people that are trying to acquire, whether it is a house, a job, a car, the husband, the wife, the friendships, the accolades, the attire, the right body, or the perfect picture of a body. Whatever it may be that a person is trying to acquire. One thing that we as people have to do is look at the reason, the motive, or the intention in regards to why we are trying to acquire. And I say that because as a mental health specialist and someone that is always talking to people and given the wonderful opportunity to sit in dialogue or converse with a person about life, majority, if not every time that I am talking to somebody, it is because they have a broken soul or something has come in to afflict their soul. So let me define it. What is a broken soul? So a broken soul is someone that has gone through something in their life and it has caused an alteration in the inner man of who they are. You can get a broken soul from being abandoned or rejected by your parents, which will cause you to grow up and question, why does nobody love me? Why does nobody want me? Why don't people accept me? And because of that broken soul, you will always attract those type of people. You will attract people that make you feel insignificant, like you don't matter, like you're not important. A person whose soul is broken, that is always exploited and used for resources, money, or sex. That's a broken soul. Broken souls is kind of what I would compare to a shattered vase or a vase, as some people say. A shattered vase cannot hold content in it because it's always going to leak out. If you have a broken vase that has fragmentation or holes in it at the bottom, whatever you put into it is going to leak out. It's not going to be able to sustain that which is put inside. And so if you are that person that has a broken soul, whatever is put inside of you, it's never going to feel like it's enough. There's always going to be a void. It's always going to feel like it's a hole. And that can be people that feel like there's always something wrong. Even if it's something good, it always feels like it's something wrong. Or even that something bad is going to happen. Or that you're going to lose it. Or that it's not going to stay. Because your soul has no, not even depth, but just capacity for it. Because everything is just running out because it's broken. And I remember about 2008, maybe 2008, I was at home and I was praying and I had this vision and it was of a vase. And that's actually why I'm using this demonstration, because I actually had a vision about this. It was this vase and content was being poured in it, but because it was broken, everything was leaking out. I myself was that vase. And literally, over the years of my life, a lot of things that God put in me, spoke to me, said to me, opportunities, relationships, houses, possessions, materials, anything he put in me, for some reason, I would either lose it or majority of the time someone would try and take it. But it was successful because I was broken. Meaning I didn't know strategy and method of how to hang on to it. Because when you're broken and you're so hurt, sometimes you can acquire to fill that void. But sometimes when you're so broken, you don't care about the stuff. You just want what you feel like is going to heal you. And for me, that wasn't stuff. And it's so bad because God always blesses me bountifully with things. I mean, things like I don't really have to work hard for a lot of things. I have to believe hard. But one thing I will tell you for sure is that when God goes in, he heals a portion of my soul or gives me some type of revelation in regards to a spiritual matter. That is when I actually acquire the things that are outside. This is how I know that some people are broken, but they're using things to fill the void. And you know it because it could be a relationship that you're using to put in that place that needs healing. It could be a car that you're using to put in that place. It could be money. It could be a job. It can be productivity. It can even be sleep, which too much sleep oftentimes is a clue or a nugget to understand someone may be going through depression. It can be food. But whatever you're using to put into that spot or that place, it's never good enough. And with a dark hole, or let's just say a broken vase, because there is no foundation at the bottom for things to be held, when it's put in, it literally drops straight through. So you never feel fulfilled. You always feel like you're in want or you're in need. And so you hoard things and you hoard people or you hoard food. And what I mean by hoard is that there's always just a consumption of it. Always just a gathering of things. But it never leads to an inner resolve of peace because that void is still there. That hole and that brokenness in a soul is still there. And so oftentimes when someone's soul is broken from the outside, another person may misjudge them. Say, for instance, a woman is very promiscuous and she sleeps around with a lot of men. As you can see, her sleeping around with a lot of men is sometimes an indication that there's something inside that is not filled or whole, which would be her soul. But on the other side, we don't see that she was molested or she was raped or she wasn't loved by her parents or she always had to do things to prove her worth or her value. And so when something like that happened, the soul oftentimes registers whatever imprint was left on it. Whatever imprint was left from the circumstance or situation. Because I don't feel like good things can break a person's soul. I feel like it's bad things. And let me go back. Actually, good things can break a person's soul because sometimes those people that acquire, they have so many people around them, so many people that want something from them. They actually become invisible to those people that just want. And that can actually break a person's soul. But that also goes back to foundation. Because some people feel like if they can give people what they want, they'll be loved. If they can supply for a person, they'll be treated right. If they can just give that person what they need, that person will give them what they need. It's so funny. I really just thought about the movie Waiting to Exhale, where she was in a marriage and he was cheating. And she said, I just always feel like if I gave him what he needed, he'll give me what I needed. And then obviously that's why she set the car on fire and did the things with the clothes, because as you can see, there was some type of void in there. We never got to the whole root of it, where it started from. But as you can see, she was enraged because she gave him so much and he never gave her what she needed. That is an example of a person with a broken soul. When your soul is broken, you don't always get what you need, because a lot of times you don't know what you need because you're running off of falsehood. And what I mean is that oftentimes you have to lose something in order to gain something. So let's use a relationship again, just hypothetically speaking. A woman is in a relationship. We'll use a woman again. A woman is in a relationship. She's doing everything for this man. She cooks, she cleans, she does everything that he requires, or she believes that he requires for her to feel loved or be loved. And he cheats and he lies and he takes money, but she stays. There is an emptiness inside of her that she's trying to fill through doing, productivity, giving, but she's not getting what she needs. Ultimately, she decides, okay, I'm not happy. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not getting what I want. She takes the time to sit down and evaluate herself and go back to her childhood and heal from the childhood trauma and things that happened to her. And then she's finally able to say, I know what makes me happy. I know what I want. And on the contrary, I know what I don't want and what I'm not going to accept. That is a healed soul. People that are not broken don't just accept just anything. People that are broken are. Sometimes you can treat them any type of way. You can talk to them any type of way. You can make them feel any type of way because they're broken. And sometimes they don't know what's on the opposite side of brokenness. Like, okay, this is not normal for you to talk to me like this, because I was always talk to like this. This is not normal for you to go about your life treating me like I'm insignificant or not important. They will be able to draw a conclusion by how they're treated, and make some good decisions that will benefit them and the other person as well. Because allowing people in our lives to abuse us and mistreat us and talk to us bad and just use us to do what they want to be done and things like that, that doesn't help us, but it also doesn't benefit the other person that's doing it. So I'm a responsible adult, an accountable adult. So I would say that I am helping that person to be an enabler if I know that they're doing bad and doing wrong to me, and I let them stay in my life. And I let them perpetuate a cycle of abuse to make them feel powerful while they try to make me feel less than or insignificant. And see, broken souls don't always just do what's good for them. They also can see that they do what is right by other people. And it's going to be challenging and conflicting because as you're trying to protect your soul and put barriers and healthy boundaries up, you're going to get kickback and pushback from people. They're going to push back so hard because for some reason, when people can see and smell and tell that you're healing, they amp up the abuse. They amp up the treatment because they don't want you to get to healing. They don't want you to become a restored version of the person that was lost years ago, decades ago. Because when you become whole, people actually lose control and grasp over you in your life. We see it all the time, not just with women. Let's go ahead and talk about men, for instance. I'll never forget when I was a little bit younger, I watched a TV show. It was a talk show, and it was a man on there, and he was saying how the woman that he was with was abusing him. Ironically enough, the crowd was appalled, like, this can't be. I don't even think at that time we had really heard a lot about men being abused in that manner. And it was actually very disturbing to see this man that, when we think about the word man, oh my God, just with that word, we just think of strength. We think of authority. We think of a person that is able and capable to take care of themselves and not let anyone just do them any type of way. So when I was looking at him being abused, my mind shifted and I couldn't conceptualize man. I looked at him and I just saw a broken person. Like, you could tell by the way that he sat, the way that he, his confidence, he didn't stare at the crowd too long, just really downtrodden, just his whole countenance. And this lady went on and continued to say demeaning things to him, disrespectful things, talk to him crazy. And the crowd was just appalled because you hear them like, oh, just gasping for air. Like, wow, what would make you want to do that as a woman? Just demean and disrespect this man. And you could see she felt powerful and she's sitting there and she's sitting tall. And it was just an awkward experience because I was more used to seeing men do that to women, not on the contrary of women doing it to men. And so this man sat there broken. You could tell his soul was broken. And they asked him, why do you let her talk to you like that or treat you like that? And they went deeper into his situation and, they talked about his childhood. He was treated like that by his mother because his mother was extremely disrespectful, mean and rude and nasty and didn't care about his feelings and what happened to him. He normalized that. So, yes, we can normalize brokenness. So because he normalized it, ultimately what was attracted to him, which was actually normal to him, but dysfunctional to us, normal to him, dysfunctional to us, actually made it to where he allowed this woman to treat him horribly. And, they're on a talk show and they're trying to tell him like, hey, this isn't right. You're a good guy. You go to work. You do this. You do that. You help. I think this man was even cleaning and cooking. I think he was just doing so many things to try to appease her. I think that she was more of the type of the person with a goddess mentality. And I don't say that in a sense to be disrespectful to the terminology of goddess, but she felt like her regal royal stance allowed her to treat him like a peasant or a slave. And so he allowed it. And until someone came into his life, they allowed the audience to stand up and ask questions and also more or less give comments because some people were enraged because he was actually a nice looking guy. Very nice looking. But he was broken. And as they started to ask questions to question him, the woman actually became enraged because through some of those comments, you could see his stance started to change. He started to think, during the show, like, okay, this is not normal. And it enraged that woman because she was losing grasp and control over him. They unfortunately did not get to ask her a lot of questions about how she got like that. You know, they didn't get to go into her past. She wasn't really willing to talk about it, but they asked her why she treated him like that. And she said, because he deserves it. Now, rightfully so, nobody deserves that treatment. But I also believe it was because he allowed it. He allowed her to control a lot of his daily life. And I'll never forget that show because it stuck with me, because we always think that women are abused and mistreated, which oftentimes they are, but men are mistreated and abused as well. And I don't know if they were married or not. But it would put me in the mindset that they are, but I can't remember that part. But I do remember that they have been together for quite some time. And the audience asked him, like, what's going on? You're a nice looking gentleman. You seem like you have a strong work ethic. You just seem like a good guy. And he also said that his mother talked to his father in that way as well. So not only was he treated like that, he actually saw it. So you get an imprint of a blueprint of structure, that it is normal for people to be treated like that. And then you get older, and that is actually what comes to you like a magnet. You acquire that. And so it was a beautiful conclusion to the situation, because towards the end of the show, the man actually said, I have done you right for so long, I don't deserve this. And he decided to walk away. He decided to leave. Now, the woman didn't change. I mean, you could clearly see on the show that she was determined to not change, transform, or evolve. But just from someone coming to his life, telling him nice, sweet, gentle things, kind words, it was enough to draw the conclusion that this is toxic and I shouldn't be in this. And he left. I say all that to say, because sometimes scenarios do help with explanation and painting pictures. I say all that to say that broken souls attract other broken souls. She was broken too. The only thing was she didn't want to admit it. And it's so awesome because, I don't remember the follow-up that they did with this man or anything like that, and I don't remember the follow-up that they did with the woman either, but he stopped enabling her to treat him like he was nothing. And who knows, let's go deeper. Maybe that's how she felt. Maybe she felt insignificant and unimportant. Maybe that's why she did other people the way that she did them, because she wanted them to feel what she was feeling. Nevertheless, it's still not right. We don't know if when she was a child, she saw her mother abusing her father or whatever. And so she decided to do the very same things. But one thing is for certain, I know we as people have to do an awesome job. And if not doing a good job, a better job of taking care of our souls and healing. And you can't heal properly until you acknowledge that something is wrong and it's not right. You can't heal properly until you get exposed to better circumstances, even if it's just seeing a situation or being around something better. You can't get healed until you change your perspective. That would be what Christ said about be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Sometimes because something begots something, like one thing produces another thing, people don't get the exposure that they need for better. Like sometimes you will see, I know when we were in high school, there were a lot of young women that were getting abused. And I mean, now that I think about it, at 15 and 16, 17, getting thrown downstairs, getting smacked, getting punched, bruises left on the arms. Now that I think about that, that is pretty dramatic for high school people, high school kids. So it's like, where did it come from? So it lets you know that at 14, 15, 16, souls were broken. And it's so ironic that when you're a broken soul, if you really sit down and assess your life, like I know a lot of times people will be like, okay, why am I attracting these type of people? Let me sit down and evaluate myself. You'll actually see that you're attracting the area within yourself that needs to be healed. For instance, I'm the type of person when people come around me, they want to utilize, well, I'm going to say use, God utilizes me, but they want to use me for words from God. Not even so much as prayer, just words. They just want to talk about their situation so that they can get some type of direction. That can still become exploitive because anybody can get a word from God if they sit down, listen to him, pray, read, seek the relationship with him. They can get a word from him. People also attempt to acquire things from me. And I don't know if it's because God blesses me so easily with things that if they think they're around me, he's going to do the same for them. I don't know. But when I sat down and started to evaluate what was going on in my life and why I just kept attracting the same type of people, I was able to go back and ask questions and actually observe things that were going on in my family and generational line and see, okay, this must be a generational curse because it not only happened to me, it happened to my mom and my grandmother and my great grandmother. Only to discover that one of my great great grandparents, I believe, or great grandparents ran a brothel, which is a whorehouse. And so that is a spirit of prostitution. It is prostitution. So we know prostitutes get used for things, oftentimes sex, if they have a pimp, very abusive and used for money and loyalty. So as I look back in my family line, it was a generational line of brokenness, and it was able to bring me up to speed because I said, no, I do not want this to pass down to my child. So I had to sit down and do the hard work of allowing God to heal me. And this is so beautiful because I promised just yesterday I was like frolicking around the house and I was doing like spring cleaning and throwing out old clothes and, things that don't fit, things that are not me, even papers, documents, all that type of stuff. And I stumbled across this journal entry. And it was literally just one page in the journal. Normally I'll sit down if I feel led to read that journal, but it was one page where I was talking to a person and I was just confirming, no, this is not the person for me because nobody has to work for love like this. People will do that to you. They will have you working for love. And that's actually what was going on with that TV show, that talk show. The way that she wanted to be loved was through abusing other people. It made her feel good. It made her feel powerful. And so this man was serving her through dysfunctional, toxic love, which was enabling her to be abusive and mean and nasty to him. You have to be careful when you are a person that walks around with a broken soul, because whoever latches onto you, they're going to use you for what they believe is good for them. Broken souls can use people for sex and monies and objects, even to degrade them, demean them, debase them, and feel like nothing. It's fairly awkward. But when you're a broken soul, wherever area that they are abusing you, whatever area they are abusing you is the area that you need to be healed. The ironic thing about broken souls is that oftentimes the brokenness causes them to will be discovered by other broken people. But it's also ironic because that person that is finding them is also broken, but it will lead them away from God. Because it's just like Adam and Eve in a garden. after Satan broke them with the deception of not doing something that God told them not to do, he basically told them to do what God told them not to do. It broke them. And in their brokenness, they hid and ran from God. And oftentimes as people, we do that. We run from God because we want to hide our brokenness from him as if he does not already see and know. So he'll put us in a situation that can be very trying, very hard, and very difficult until we come to ourselves and start to look and see, okay, that's not normal. I know for me, oftentimes I'll say, okay, something's wrong. Something's not right. Something's not lining up. And that's when he'll begin to show me. But I first have to recognize that something's wrong. And then he'll show me like, okay, this is what it is. And then it leads me to walk away from that person or walk away from that job or walk away from that circumstance because I need to focus on healing myself. That person is just going to continue doing what they're doing because they feel like they have access and permission to do it. I'm the one that has to make the decision to walk away and stop the cycle, which oftentimes leaves me by myself quite often in a sense of really bonding with people. Like I have a lot of people that I oftentimes associate with, and just being honest, it's my job. I'm a mental health specialist, so I'm always talking to somebody. But oftentimes it does lead me to stray away from relationships and people's, even cities and states, because sometimes there are powers and principalities over regions and places, just like it is over people. And I don't want people or environments to have that much control over me. So oftentimes, by any means necessary, I'll leave. But I'm learning through maturity that it's not always about leaving. You heard that saying where they say, even if you go to another city or state, you still go with yourself. That is true. So what we have to do is look inside of ourselves. It's not the answer to always jump into another relationship or jump into another business venture or connect with another person. Oftentimes it is just for us to sit there, evaluate, and allow God to shine a light on the area that is broken so that he can give us the strategies to heal. And then also on the contrary, sometimes he will tell you to do something because we know with Abraham, he was going to become a father of many nations. So God didn't need him to be around a family that wasn't going to allow him to become. Whatever reason God told him to leave, it was for a reason. Because in him leaving, he actually walked into his destiny. Now, we don't get a lot of detail about Abraham's family and things like that. So we just don't know a lot, but we know enough to know that God told him to leave. We know enough to know that he obeyed. Even with Ruth and Naomi, Ruth left the Moabites. She left her family because of the corrupt practices and things like that, because they were broken. You see so many instances in the Bible where the people that these people were around were broken. And when God brought them out, they were able to discover who they were. They were able to heal and see that they were more than these people thought. We see it with David, and his father. David was outside feeding sheep. He wasn't accepted inside when they came to, when I think Samuel came to anoint or find David, because he was looking for David, but he needed to be there to see which one it was. You could see the brokenness because David was outside. And everybody else was in the house at the banquet or the ceremony where the next king was going to be appointed. You see so much brokenness in the Bible. You see so much brokenness, but you see so much healing. And we see people meet their destiny and come into greatness and fulfillment and do great and mighty moves and missions of God. That is the whole purpose of this message. It's not about doing the great and mighty works for God, which is very important. But the most important part is about being connected to God. And if you're broken and you're dealing with somebody that's broken, they do not want you to be close to God. They don't want you to connect to God, because if you ever do, and when you do, because we know it's going to be a when if you're listening to this, they won't be there. because that broken soul wants to keep you broken, which will keep you ashamed and embarrassed. It will keep you away from God. And that's the purpose, because God is able to heal you. So it's a bigger it's a bigger picture to brokenness. When you get healed, a lot of times it is because you got closer to God and He was able to show you something to stop a cycle. Brokenness separates us. So it is my prayer today that something that was said in this episode will come as a point of enlightening and a reference to be empowered to make decisions that are going to lead you on the path that Christ designed for you, not the path that your brokenness hoped for you, which is oftentimes when it's brokenness, it can lead to destruction, destructive behaviors, destructive thought processes, toxic relationships, and it just go on and on. But as you pursue the route of healing, it will lead to fulfilling abundance of inner resolve, such as joy and peace and happiness. And if the other things that come on the outside, that's great and beautiful. But ultimately, the broken soul that needs to be healed, it wants to experience peace. And that to me is worth more than any vehicle, any vacation, any house. It's just priceless. It will cost you something to get to healing, but once you get to it, it will be like it was worth that sacrifice of what you paid for it. So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of The Dialogue. It is always a pleasure to be able to speak on content that God breathes into my soul and spirit. It is my hope that something that was said will give you clarity to understand the importance of healing and being transformed in your mind so that you can be a person of a whole being and experience wholeness. Please share this with someone that you think may help. You know that on this show, we are healing souls one conversation at a time. So I hope that you have a wonderful day and you start your journey towards wholeness. Have a good day, everybody.